In the giggle, the TARDIS and the Doctor is split, and both Doctors go on to live with their individual TARDIS. The Doctor asks Rose how your mum and uncle being the 14th Doctor. This confirms that the 14th Doctor is still potentially living and has not regenerated into the 15th as of yet, but we know this is what will eventually happen when he heals himself. This split could have effectively affected the timelines, potentially splitting it into two parts, and we're only seeing one half. Before we go any further, I would ask you to subscribe if you love Doctor Who and Doctor Who content. This channel is all about Who and has some great stuff coming, and already has some great stuff already on the channel. We know that ᴬᴰᴰ was joined to the TARDIS before the events of Wild Blue Yonder, because even in the Children in Need special, the TARDIS crash lands on Scarrow. In fact, the TARDIS has been acting so weird since, I want to say, Capaldi's era. I would say it makes a little bit more sense to say since the Flux event started to unfold. ᴬᴰᴰ has been waiting a long time, so the coffee Donna spilled had nothing to do with the TARDIS acting weird. Well, maybe just a little bit, but yeah, I don't imagine the coffee would have made it go on a Wild Blue Yonder. The TARDIS appears on Ruby Road twice. Kate also mentions that the TARDIS is 20 metres to the north of its original position. So this scene intrigued me because we do know that the beginning of the church on Ruby Road, when we see the Doctor land, is such a different scene by the end of the church on Ruby Road. RTD has said that these two scenes in the episode are important, so knowing that they have been shot differently now tells us it was deliberate, and it possibly could be two entirely different events in time, or two separate timelines. The Doctor mentions that Ruby's mum is not just glitching out.
Why can't we see her properly?
That is more than just a glitch. It's like she's shadowed.
It's more than that. It's as if she is shadowing herself. What happens when you put two things together, such as a memory or video footage, on top of each other? They would appear to become one but shadow itself, especially if they are different versions of the same memory or clip, showing possibly two separate timelines. It's key to mention here that in the time window scene, everything appears to be low opacity and it's a blue colour because of the quality of the videotape, which is fine. But the hooded figure and the TARDIS are so much more opaque in comparison with everything else around them. The Doctor even addresses the TARDIS being solid in this episode.
That TARDIS is almost solid.
If time is memory and memory is time, then what is the memory of a time machine?
This happens when two versions of the same image are laid on top of one another. Nothing else in the memory has changed, so there would be no need for the surroundings to have duplicated themselves. The 15th Doctor's memory of Ruby Road keeps changing. This first happened in Space Babies, and then the Doctor says it again in The Legend of Ruby Sunday.
And I came back running, and that's when I saw the woman. My memory of this keeps changing. Time keeps changing.
So in the time window scene, the Doctor starts to question that his memory of this keeps changing. Time keeps changing. Then why Ruby's mum is pointing at them. So I still believe that Ruby's mum is a god, if not at the very least some sort of magical being, potentially someone we would recognise, hence why they have shrouded them in a cloak. ᴬᴰᴰ mentions a lot of gods, but one he does not mention is Hecuba, the Queen of Time. I think this was deliberately left out, as he mentions the toy maker and he also mentions Maestro, who are both related to Hecuba. So could she, Hecuba the Queen of Time, be Ruby's mum? This would explain why she points in the Doctor's direction, but instead she's not pointing at the Doctor, she's pointing at the TARDIS. It was also mentioned in the time window scene that she was pointing north. If she was the Queen of Time, she potentially would be able to see that there were two TARDISes there, and she would also be able to see ᴬᴰᴰ, as they're another god wrapped around the blue box. Now you would think, oh, but if the Doctor landed there twice, he would see himself. Well, not really, because this would be two different timelines that the Doctor's not aware of. Two different realities bleeding into one another. A similar thing to how the Ghost Shift worked by bleeding the Cybermen through into our reality. One question I have had myself is, does this mean that there are two ᴬᴰᴰs because the TARDIS was split? I would say no, because in one reality ᴬᴰᴰ is there, but in the other timeline he's not there, and this is why the events on Ruby Road keep changing. And the hoodie points at the Doctor in one timeline but walks away in the other. That leads me on to Susan Triad, seeing herself in every dream. I know she has turned out to be one of the puppets of Sutekh for now. I'm so sure we're getting more from Susan Triad in the next episode, as RTD has spoken about this with the actor Susan Twist in the Legend of Ruby Sunday Unleashed episode. It is confirmed in that episode that she will appear, obviously, in episode 7 and 8. So if Susan is seeing herself in every dream, what if this is something to do with the realities bleeding into each other? It is possible that not everyone is affected by this. But we do have 3 characters now. 3. Again, this is the triad. 3 things coming together to make one, that seem to have the ability to either see into other worlds via dreams, remember variations of time and memory, or physically bring something from a memory into the current reality. All ways of reality and time bleeding through. Another thing that seems off with reality/memory and timeline is Mrs. Flood. She didn't like the fact that the big blue box was there, or even know what a Tardis was in the church on Ruby Road. But then all of a sudden, she seems to know what the Tardis is by the end of the episode. She also started breaking the 4th wall after this episode comes to its end. She then breaks the 4th wall again in the Legend of Ruby Sunday. I don't think she is going to be also important in this season finale, as we pretty much know she's a slow burner mystery. Personally, now that they've managed to bring Sutekh back, I really think there's a stronger possibility Mrs. Flood could potentially be the Rani or another Time Lord, as they may have managed to finally secure the rights to the Rani. But that's a theory for another time. The Doctor mentions that he doesn't have kids and that it's yet to happen, even though he already has a granddaughter. This fried my brain, and I said this in my review of the episode also, but I think this could be deliberate by RTD. The reason I have included this point is because we have explicitly known the Doctor to have previously had at least a kid. The Doctor has mentioned this a few times before or briefly spoke about it, and RTD knows this as he's wrote some of the damn scripts. Also, the 15th Doctor speaks about being a dad in Boom. Dad to dad, dust to dust. If RTD was going to be changing the arc of the Doctor had already been a parent, he would have changed this in the script for Boom. So, for the 15th Doctor to say he hasn't yet had any kids is just weird. So another possible hint to timelines or realities being messed around with. I'm not saying that all of this is because of Sutekh, because all Sutekh really wants to do is destroy the universe. Everything must come to dust. Sutekh gains nothing from messing with the Doctor's or really anyone's timeline. And remember, he's a god of death, so doesn't hold much power in the way of timelines, memory, or realities. He can change the future, but only by being in said future's past, and can only change the past by being in the past before the events he would like to change. But here are Sutekh's abilities as we know them, and again, this could change as many things already have changed about this god since we last seen him on screens. He does have immense knowledge of time travel, but this only states that he has knowledge of time travel and doesn't actually have the ability to do so. This would explain why he's attached himself to the Tardis, so he can get his revenge on the Doctor. In essence, where the Doctor goes, Sutekh goes, as he waited. I did a theory on the triad and it being a triangle. A triad is 3 things that come together to make one. So far we have the Doctor and we have Sutekh. Could the 3rd piece be the Queen of Time? Here's a synopsis of the last episode, Empire of Death. The Doctor has lost. His ageless enemy reigns supreme, and a shadow is fallen over creation. Nothing can stop the devastation, except, perhaps, one woman. So the Doctor defeated Sutekh last time in the Pyramids of Mars by delaying his trip in the time corridor to the Priory by moving the corridor's threshold to the far future. This effectively aging him to death. So what if Hecuba, instead of being an evil queen of time, RTD takes her and makes her a good god? Or she is still evil but wanting to protect Ruby, as she is her mother, and the Queen of Time is the except, perhaps, one woman in the Empire of Death synopsis. This would mean that she would have the power to again trap Sutekh in a time-like event similar to how the Doctor did before, saving the day. Obviously this means that the Doctor would technically not be the one to save the day, but this has also been a running theme throughout this whole season. The Doctor has very rarely been the one to actually solve and resolve the overall story. This could explain why Ruby is hardly seen in Season 2. Maybe she goes with her mother to learn about who she actually is, the god of memories, dreams, hope, or something. Or even wilder, Maybe Ruby herself is the Queen of Time, bringing that third piece of the triad even closer to the Doctor. It would explain the snow, but RTD did say Ruby is not one of those special companions like Clara or Donna. But he did lie to us by saying that there was no returning villains this season. So yeah, I'm taking that with a pinch of salt, pun intended. What's your thoughts on the final episode of Season 1? Watch me get it wrong again. I will ask you again to subscribe if you love Doctor Who and Doctor Who content. This channel is all about Doctor Who and we love it here. And there's some great stuff coming, and as I said, there's great stuff already on the channel. Click this video if you want to stay in the YouTube Whoniverse, because honestly, it's always the best place to be.